would
Uruk
be the one to seal Junko's fate. Yaminato was the youngest of four, but his family's home would become their base of operations. And Watanabe rounded out the group, and he would play a supporting role of all the horrific things that were going to happen to Junko. So Miyano was born on April 30th, 1970, in Adachi, Tokyo, and his family appeared respectable on the surface. His father worked at a securities company while his mother taught piano, but there was another side to the family, because Miyano's grandfather had reportedly been a soldier with political connections to the Yakuza, and his uncle was said to be a high-ranking official within the organized crime syndicate. And at school, Miyano was known as a bully, and he openly bragged about his Yakuza connections. Whether those ties were as strong as he said or they were exaggerated, the reputation served him well, and people were afraid of him. And a psychological evaluation conducted later revealed that Miyano had a learning disability as well. And according to the assessment, it did not impair his brain function but delayed his emotional development, which I don't think is an excuse for anything that's going to happen at all, but it's worth note. But it would have some effect on his choices. Miyano was living with his girlfriend at the time, who happened to be the older sister of Yasushi Watanabe, and she eventually ended the relationship after he joined a gang and started committing horrible crimes. But all four boys had dropped out of high school by the summer of 1988. But Miyano's troubles had started long before, and he had already been shoplifting and damaging school property at that point. The pattern only continued and escalated as he got older. But Minato's background was different. He was born in 1972, and his parents were reportedly Communist Party members who raised him strictly. But that didn't matter in the end, because by 16 he had fallen in with Miyano's crowd, and they were scum of the earth. And they would collectively become Chinpira, or low-ranking Yakuza, essentially street-level thugs. And starting in October of 1988, they drove right into a spree of criminal activities, including purse snatching, car theft, extortion, assault, and they would become serial predators. And they would have persistence. They knew how to identify targets, and most of the time, they let their victims go afterward. But Junko was different. On the record, he abducted a 19-year-old woman, and they take her to a hotel, gang her, and once they had all walked out of school, they needed a place to live, and Minato offered to pay for it. And he replaced the adults who unwilling or unavailable to pay under their roof. So here, just they operated as covering for each other. And on the night of November 25th, 1988, and they rode through the streets of Musashi.
Even the animals are turning into monsters.
So as you know, Junko had just finished her shift at the plastic modeling factory and headed home on her bike. And the streets were dark, but she knew the way. But little did she know that Miyano and Minato were out hunting. So as they were riding on the street, they would spot Junko. She was alone, and she was vulnerable, just the type of person they were looking for. And what happened next was extremely coordinated, because Miyano gave the order and Minato executed it. So as Junko pedaled along, Minato drove his motorcycle toward her and kicked her off her bike, and she would fall to the ground. And before she could process what was happening, Minato sped away into the night. His job was done. Now it was Miyano's turn. So Miyano approached Junko as if he had witnessed the attack by coincidence, and he played the concerned stranger, helping her to her feet. And he asked if she was okay. She was shaken and vulnerable, and here was this helpful guy offering to walk her home safely. So naturally, Junko would accept. She had no way of knowing that the stranger who had attacked her and the stranger helping her were actually working together. So Miyano walked her away from the street, away from home, and toward a nearby warehouse. And once they reached the warehouse, the mask came off. And Miyano told Junko
There's something written
he was
here.
a member of the
A
Yakuza,
poem?
and he would only spare her life if she
Or a
was
riddle.
free
A
from
little
his
clothespin
death.
doll.
And that is when he would essence her
Perfect
first
weird
time
souvenir for
and
Logan.
threatened to kill her if she made clean works. And afterward, Miyano took Junko by test Adachi, where he could ask her again. And from the hotel room, he called Minato's house and bragged to Agura about what he had done. And any other scenario for them would have ended there.
Reminds
Again,
me of the
they
nursery
never
rhymes I read to
told
Logan when she was
exactly
little.
what they did what they wanted. But Agura's response would determine everything
No.
that came next, saying, quote unquote, don't let her leave. So around 3 a.m. on November 26th, Miyano brought Junko to a park near the hotel. And there, the three others were waiting in the darkness: Agura, Minato, and Watanabe. And they would surround her and told her that they knew where she lived and that the Yakuza would murder her family if she tried to escape. And then, according to some accounts, the other three boys would escort her there in the park. The Junko was completely alone, terrified for her life and the lives of her family, just surrounded by her attackers in the middle of the night, absolutely petrified. I can't even imagine how she was feeling. But the boys needed somewhere else to take her because they weren't done yet. Minato offered his family a house, the same house the group had been using as a hangout since they dropped out of school. And he agreed to let them hold Junko in a room on the second floor. So they smuggled her into the house under the cover of darkness. So Junko would be held captive and confined to a room on the second floor of the Minato family home. And the house sat in the Ayase district of Adachi in north central Tokyo. And it was, by all accounts, an ordinary residence in an ordinary neighborhood. Nothing to suggest the horrors that were happening inside. But from November 26, 1988 to January 4th, 1989, Junko remained trapped in that upstairs room. So 2 days after Junko vanished, her parents went to the police. The boys knew an investigation could unravel everything, so they forced Junko to call her mother. 3 times she was made to pick up the phone and perform her script. And Miyano allegedly held a knife to her throat once while she spoke, saying, quote, "Mom, I'm sorry I worried you. I've run away, but I'm safe with friends. Please don't look for me," unquote. And her mother heard her daughter's voice, and then the line was dead. But it didn't sound quite right. She was not convinced.
Another one of those
Junko was
rhymes.
also forced to tell her mother to call off the
La heroína braga de
investigation.
casa salió. El mal quiso vencer. De los bosques el lobo. Surgió tan hambriento y cruel. Comió lo que había en la casa vacía. La heroína volvió y encontró que ya nada tenía.
So in the beginning, the boys forced Junko to act as Minato's girlfriend when his parents were around. And the parents, of course, did not believe the story. And they knew something was going on. They said nothing, and they did nothing. And eventually, the boys stopped even bothering with the charade once it became clear that Minato's parents weren't going to report them anyway, which just makes me so sick to my stomach to think that these people didn't save this girl. It's just it's just gonna get rough before warning. So Junko was not completely hidden from the world as we know. And Minato's parents obviously knew a girl was in the house and that she
Hey there, Mr. Deer. You remind me of a dream I had.
Too. And the brothers' only action was to later inform Minato that Junko appeared to be dying.
Medio
And
raro.
no one said anything. But the parents would later offer explanations, claiming they were afraid of their own son, that he had become increasingly violent toward them. Then lock him up. Get him investigated. You call the police, they could see that he's torturing someone.
No, abre la puerta.
I don't know. This infuriates me. This case infuriates me. But they said they feared retaliation from Miyano and his Yakuza connections. And some accounts suggest that they were also worried about their reputation in the community, which I'm going to assume is the biggest reason, to be honest. Because you bet your sweet ass I would lay my life down on the line to help save a girl that I know is being tortured.
Police Station, orilla del arroyo, cabañas de alquiler de Cauldron Lake. Ubicación Reina.
And he saw her. And he went home and told his brother, who told their parents, who then contacted police. And officers were dispatched to the Minato residence. But the Minatos told police there was no girl inside because they're pieces of shit, even offering to let the officers look around. reason to doubt the parents, the police declined to search. They
Creepy
left.
dolls.
Everyone
Mysterious
failed
rhymes.
Junko. In the
No
scenario,
weirder than anything else
Junko
going
would
on, I
remain
guess.
trapped upstairs, and the torture would continue. All right, I'd like to take a brief moment from the darkness to just talk about something light and fluffy and cuddly, and that is my cat, or should I say my cats, because I have two now, and they honestly have taken over my life, but I'm okay with that. But what I'm not okay with and not fine with is looking at cat food ingredient lists and having absolutely no idea what I'm feeding them. And that's why I switched to Smalls about 6 months ago. Now, Smalls makes fresh protein-packed cat food with 100% human-grade, preservative-free ingredients. The kind of stuff you'd actually find in your own fridge, delivered right to your door. You just share your cat's preferences and health info, and they build a personalized meal plan. And Forbes ranks Smalls the best overall cat food. And after switching, 88% of cat owners reported their cat's health improved overall. And my cats are obsessed. They will not stop meowing in the morning until it is in front of them. But if for whatever reason your cat doesn't like the food, Smalls will refund you, risk-free. So for a limited time, because you're a crime, conspiracy, cults, and murder listener, you get 60% off of your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/cccm. That's smalls.com/cccm. If you care about your cats as much as I do, please go order Smalls. Thank you so much to Smalls for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel. Let's get back to it. And what Junko endured over those 40 days defies all comprehension. The abuse was relentless and only got worse as the days went by. Physically, she would be beaten repeatedly with fists, bamboo sticks,
Doesn't look
golf
right.
clubs, iron rods. And at some points, Junko would be from the ceiling, and they used her as a punching bag. Not to mention, they would dumbbells onto her, which destroyed her internal organs, but she would remain alive. And they would also those weights on her hands and her fingers, which naturally would shatter her fingernails and bones. And they also burned her repeatedly using lighter fluid, setting multiple bottles on fire. And they would hot wax onto her face and her eyelids, and they would stuff her chest with sewing needles. But they would torture her in ways too horrific to fully describe. And the was constant. They would assess her as a group repeatedly, and during these assessments, they would use foreign objects, including a metal rod, a bottle, scissors, skewers, lit matches, and lit fireworks. This is a hard one to get through, sorry. And according to some accounts, as many as 100 different men were invited to the house over the course of her captivity. They treated her suffering as entertainment, and as if her wasn't enough, they hurt her psychologically as well. And they would force her to dance unclothed while playing music, and they made her do things to herself while she was in front of them, and she would remain unclothed for almost the entirety of this entire time. And sometimes they would
Doctor
make her
Higiene
stand on the
Campbell,
balcony
proyecto de
when it
rimas
was
infantiles, nombre
freezing
del proceso.
outside,
Proyecto de
and
rimas
when they
infantiles,
performed,
recibí
they
tu
actually
opinión
would put
positiva
her
sobre
inside
mi
a
propuesta
freezer
de proyecto.
for
Gracias, no
hours.
necesito
And they would
recordarte de que
force
mi
her to eat
conocimiento
live
académico y
cockroaches,
todo el
and would
tiempo
make her
adicional
drink her
que
own
invertí en
urine,
mitología,
and would make her consume large quantities
folclore
of alcohol,
y escritura
milk, and water.
aportaran
And they would force her to smoke 2
la
cigarettes
credibilidad
at once
necesaria al
and to
proyecto,
inhale
tanto en
painkiller
cuestión
fumes.
de
And they would tell her
liderazgo
lies
como en la
designed to
creación del
break her
material de
spirit
pruebas, ¿no?
further, like that her father had died in an
Actualización del
accident, which
experimento.
wasn't true. I can't.
Como acordamos, esta es la actualización de los artículos
The level
empleados
of evil in this specific case just
fueron a niveles plásticos
it makes me physically
los
ill.
artículos
I've had to stop multiple times
usados en
while
manos
filming
de
this,
plástico hechos
so I
por
apologize. I'm trying to keep
los
myself together.
opiches.
But this one just has impacted me a lot. Not that all of them don't. It's just this one in particular has been very tough to get through. And in December, Junko would try to escape, but unfortunately she would fail. Because later on, during a night when her captors had gotten wasted, Junko saw an opportunity, and she crawled downstairs and found a phone and called the police. But before she could say a single word, Miyano caught her, and he snatched
The
his phone
FBC is
away, telling the
definitely playing
officers
with
it
things
was
they
a
don't
misdial.
fully
The
understand.
police called back to verify, but Miyano
And that
assured them
always
the
goes
call
well.
had been an accident. And the police flat out just accepted his word and didn't even check on what was going on in that flat. So Junko's desperate attempt to save herself had fallen through. And sadly, there would be consequences. And the punishment was severe. And the punishment would be setting her on fire and placing her head on concrete and stomp on it. And they would punch her in the face over and over. So the message was clear. There would be no escape for Junko. And within days of this torture, her body was already beginning to fail. And it was around December where Junko began pleading with her captors to just end her, because she could not bear anymore. Because by December 10th, the burns on her legs were so severe that she could no longer walk properly. And after 20 days of captivity, she had lost the ability to walk entirely. And by late December, Junko was dying because she was severely malnourished, because her captors had given her only small amounts of food, eventually reducing her diet to nothing but milk. And her body couldn't process even basic sustenance. And dehydration caused her to vomit, which just upset her captors and led to more of it. And eventually she couldn't even keep
A
water
lunchbox
down.
again.
Not to mention she could no longer walk.
Who's
She
leaving
could
these
walk
out
to
here?
the toilet. So she just laid on the floor, too weak to move. And due to the abuse, she was almost not recognizable, and her wounds were getting infected, and the bruises covering her body had begun to rot, and the smell of decaying flesh filled the room, and the stench became so overpowering that the boys soon lost actual interest in her, which led them to go out and kidnap another 19-year-old woman on December 27th instead. And it would be this crime that would eventually lead to their arrest. So the final attack would happen on January 4th, 1989. And the night before, Miyano had allegedly lost money playing mahjong. And when he woke up, he was angry and he needed an outlet. So he chose Junko. And according to court testimony, Miyano challenged her to a game of mahjong that day. And this was the 40th day of her captivity. And as we know, she could barely move at this point. Yet, despite everything, Junko was barely aware enough to play, but she would actually beat him at the game. And Miyano and the others went into a rage. And what followed was the most brutal abuse of her entire captivity. And they would repeat the abuse that they had done before with candles and wax and beatings and
Llevar la
making her
opcional,
drink
investigar el área que
salarios.
estaba inundada.
And eventually she would fall onto a stereo unit and begin having convulsions. And by this point, her body was so decayed that they didn't want to even touch her directly. At this point, she was bleeding heavily. So they covered their hands with plastic bags before continuing, making sure they wouldn't be stained by her blood. And this is when they would
¿Cuál era el área inundada? Ya no me acuerdo, no recuerdo.
finally
Creo que era...
and her on fire. And she apparently made weak attempts to extinguish the flames, but shortly after it happened, she would stop moving. So this final lasted approximately 2 hours long. So Junko had finally died from the injuries sustained during that final. And she died at approximately 10 a.m. on January 4th, 1989. And less than 24 hours later, Minato's brother called to deliver the news. The girl upstairs appeared to be dead, and she would be only months away from graduating high school and achieving everything that she wanted to achieve. But these scum monsters, just a waste of oxygen people, took that away from her. And she'd never had the chance to realize her dreams of becoming an idol singer, and she would never go on that ski trip with her boyfriend. And these things were stolen from her by these evil human beings. But these boys did not feel any remorse for what they did to Junko. And all they felt now was fear. Fear of being caught. Fear of being charged with murder. And and now they had to deal with her
Tus
body.
simpáticos
So
guarda...
they would wrap the
guarda...
corpse
guarda...
in
guarda...
plastic
Ay,
and
guardaparques.
stuff her into
Sí,
a
hacer
large travel bag.
senderismo,
Before sealing the bag,
hacer
Miano added
senderismo
one final
y disfrutar del
item.
paisaje,
During
montar
her
tu tienda,
captivity,
disfrutar
Junko
una
had
buena
mentioned
comida. ¿Qué es
something to her
senderismo?
captors.
¿Qué significa senderismo? Actividad deportiva y recreativa.
She regretted not being able to watch the
Ok.
last episode of Tango
Montar tu
with her
tienda, disfrutar de
family.
la comida, no
Miano
tallar
found that
árboles,
videotape
diviértete
of the
siempre.
final episode and placed it
Espérate.
in the bag alongside her body.
Gracias por la camioneta.
He
Amigos,
did
un
not
momento
do
de
this out of pity or remorse. He
puedo
was just
sugerir que
afraid she
guarden la
would
paga
come
para
back
descansar.
as a ghost to haunt him.
Vine,
And this
vine nomás
travel
para ver
bag
un mensaje.
wouldn't be enough. So the boys got
¿Que no hay
a
algo más?
55-gallon metal drum
Debe
and
de haber
filled the
algo con
travel
más
bag
significado
containing
acá.
Junko's body
No me vas a decir que me
inside.
viene esta
They
cabaña solo
filled
para
it
eso.
with wet
Ah,
concrete to seal her away,
dime que
believing
funciona.
from Discovery, or so they hoped. Now the drum
Se ve idéntico al de The Last of Us.
on the spot to hide it, and they found a vacant construction site on
Idéntico.
Wakasu in Koto, Tokyo.
Idéntico,
And it was a
papá.
popular illegal dumping ground for all sorts of junk.
Ah.
Refrigerators, washing machines, rusted equipment. Surely one more oil drum wouldn't attract any attention, they thought. So on January 5th, 1989, the day after
Ya llevo 2
Junko
horas
passed
jugando.
away,
¿De
the
horas?
boys loaded the concrete-filled drum into a vehicle. At approximately 8 p.m., they dumped it in that vacant lot among the other discarded items, and they drove away. So Junko had been reduced to garbage, left to be forgotten. And Junko Furuta's body lay encased in concrete for nearly 3 months, and no one found her
Ah,
because
necesito un
no one was
destornillador.
looking. As far as the police were concerned, she had just run away from home, case closed. And the discovery would come not through investigation, but by an accidental slip of the tongue. So in early 1989, police caught up with Miyano and Agura. And the woman they had abducted on December 27th, while Junko was still suffering in the upstairs room, went to the police. And on January 23rd, 1989, Miyano and Agura were arrested for the kidnapping and of this woman. And they were in custody and facing charges. But nobody knew about Junko, the girl they threw away, at least not yet. So 2 months passed, and on March 29th, 1989, 2 police officers arrived to question Miyano and Agura further. And during searches of their residences, investigators had discovered women's underwear, and they wanted answers, because they were investigating a different murder. A woman and her 7-year-old son had been killed 9 days before Junko's abduction, and the case remained unsolved. During the interrogation, officers mentioned this was an open murder investigation, and they met
¡A la madre!
Milano heard something else, and he panicked, believing Ogura had already confessed to killing Junko and assumed the police knew everything. And as we know, he was wrong. So thinking the game was over, Milano told the officers where the son's body was. The police were confused since they were still asking about a completely different crime. But now they knew, and it couldn't be taken back. Milano had accidentally turned himself in for the murder
Ay,
of
Dios, qué miedo.
Furuta. The police were recovering the body. So armed with Miyano's confession, investigators went to Wakasu, and they found the vacant lot and the 55-gallon drum. And on March 29th, 1989, police recovered Junko's body. And that's when they would break through the concrete, extracting the travel
There's
bag
another
and the
lunchbox.
blanket wrapped around the remains, and the videotape of Tango. And when they weighed her body, it registered to 44 kilograms, approximately 97 pounds. And visual identification at this point was impossible since Junko's face had been beaten so severely. Not to mention, the weeks of decomposition sealed in concrete left nothing recognizable.
Saga was sure
of the
she had
girl
hit
who
the
had once
Taken in the head,
smiled in pictures.
but had not even
So
slowed the
investigators
monster
returned
down.
to her fingerprints,
She took
and
aim
they
and fired
confirmed her
again.
identity.
Another
The
headshot.
autopsy revealed the
This
full
time,
extent
the
of
Taken
what she had
staggered.
suffered. And it also revealed that Junko had been pregnant at the time of her death, making the situation just that much more thrilling. So the investigation moved quickly after Miyano's confession. And on April 1st, 1989, Ogura was arrested for yet another SCP, and he was subsequently rearrested for his role in Junko's murder. And Minato and
Queda
Watanabe
otro.
were taken into custody shortly after. And Minato's brother, who had known what was happening and did nothing, was also arrested. And Tetsuo Nakagura and Koichi Hara were identified as participants in the as well. The DNA evidence found on and inside Junko's body confirmed their involvement. And prosecutors decided that Nakamura and Ihara would face charges of only. And the four main perpetrators would face the full weight of Japanese justice for juvenile offenders for confinement and murder. So the first trial began in July 31st of 1989 in Tokyo. And under Japanese law at the time, anyone under 20 was considered a juvenile. And this meant that all four main perpetrators qualified, but the court would hide their identities at the time. And in official documents, they became letters. Miyano was A, Ogura was B, Minato was C, and Watanabe was D. But Junko Furuta received no such protection, and she was reportedly designated as E. But that anonymity ultimately meant nothing for Junko. Her real name and photograph were splashed across every newspaper and television program in Japan. So the court protected the identities of the killers, but it did not protect the identity of their victims. But luckily, given the severity of the crime, the four boys were actually tried as adults in Tokyo's District Criminal Court. And this was very rare for juvenile offenders. But even that exemption came with caveats, because the court still granted them protections normally reserved for juveniles, which is only added up to bodily injury that resulted in death in the eyes of the law.
Oh, no.
So on July 20th, 1990, the court announced its verdict. And Miyano, the ringleader who
There's a
orchestrated
rhyme
the
over here.
led the torture, and Junko on fire received 17 years. That's it. That's disgusting. And during his trial, a prosecutor reportedly told him that if he had committed the crime just a short while later, when he was no longer a juvenile in the eyes of the law, he would have faced the death penalty. Yet he was being tried as an adult, but they still treated him as a juvenile. It will never make sense to me, and I think it is abhorrent. And Miyano's response was cold, saying, quote, "In this country, there is no chance to do something like this other than when you are a minor," unquote. And he dismissed Junko with indifference. She, quote, "was just unlucky enough to get caught," unquote. And Ogura, who told Miyano not to let her go, received 5 to 10 years. And Minato, who supplied the torture room, received 5 to 6 years. And Watanabe, still a full participant in everything that they did to her, received 3 to 4 years. But the defendants were not satisfied. They wanted even less time. So Miyano, Minato, and Watanabe appealed their sentences, and the appeals went to the Tokyo High Court. And the higher court disagreed with the original sentences, but not in a way that was
There's another
The high
lunchbox.
court instead increased the punishment. Luckily, Miyano's sentence was raised for 17 years to 20. Still not enough, which is the longest sentence typically handed down in Japan, short of life imprisonment.
Saga was
Minato's
sure she had
sentence
hit
was
the taken in the
increased to
head.
5 to 9 years, and Watanabe's sentence was increased to 5 to 7 years. But the presiding judge, Ryuji Yanase, explained the court's reasoning. The sentences were increased because of the nature of the crime and the effect on the victim's family and the broader effect on society. Now, Watanabe appealed and to the Supreme Court. And in July of 1992, his appeal was denied. The sentences were final. All right, let's take a quick breather to talk about something that's probably been in the back of your mind, and that is that doctor's appointment that's just been not quite making it into your schedule, but you know you have to, but you don't, and you just never do. Well, that's where ZocDoc comes in. And for those of you who don't know, ZocDoc is a free app and website that makes it incredibly easy to find and book high-quality in-network doctors. We're talking 150,000 plus providers across all 50 states, and you can search by specialty or thousands of verified cases. Sometimes it's a day appointment and in-person or video visit. I'm a video person. I'm like, I don't want to leave my house. So every doctor's appointment I've made has just been videos, basically, and it's really nice. I have personally been using ZocDoc for almost a year now, and it has been super helpful. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/CCCM to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/CCCM. Thank you so much to ZocDoc.
We've reached the car, Anderson. How's it going down there?
I think I'm done here.
How do the perpetrators
I'll meet you at the
of
parking lot.
one of the most horrific crimes in Japanese, just the history of the world, receive such lenient sentences? Well, Japan's juvenile law was built on rehabilitation. The goal was not to punish young offenders, but to educate and reform them. And there was also something known as the Nagayama Standard. And under Japanese legal precedent, the death penalty was rarely applied in cases with only one victim. And law professor Hiroshi Itakura later explained that the difference between this case and harsher sentences came down to victim count and demonstrable premeditation. And in the forensic case, the court found that the intent to kill was uncertain. The torture had escalated over time, and death had been the result, but perhaps not the original goal. Who the cares? They killed her. I just don't. This case is and 60s. So incredibly sad. Like the world can be a disgusting place. Despite the ever-escalating brutality, the court wasn't sure if they had meant to kill her or not.
You ready to go?
And the Allen's defense also presented
Sí.
additional mitigating
Vámonos.
factors like psychological evaluation showing his learning disability. No words.
Mr.
And his
Wade,
parents reportedly sold their
we're taking
home
you back
and
to our
paid
field office in Bright
50
Falls.
million yen, roughly
You can freshen up there,
$350,000
and then we'll
in
talk properly.
compensation. And some would later argue that Miyano's Yakuza affiliations influenced the verdict they received at trial, lessening their sentences to be far too lenient compared to what they should
Hey, Mom.
have been. And
Before you
naturally,
say
the
anything,
sentences
I'm
in
totally
that
fine.
firestorm
Don't freak out. Dad shouldn't have
and
even
legal
texted you.
professionals were divided.
Logan?
And a survey
No
by
one
the
texted
Asahi
me.
Shimbun
What's going
newspaper
on?
found that a majority
I'm
of
totally
lawyers and
fine. I
judges
slipped, that's
consider the
all.
sentences
God, it's
appropriate
not the
based
end
on
of the
precedent.
world.
But the public
Put your
was
father on the
different.
phone.
Citizens were
Okay.
outraged, rightfully so.
Dad,
And Tokyo's
it's
police
Mom.
department and courts received a wave of letters and calls demanding
Don't worry,
life
hon.
imprisonment or the
Logan
death
slipped in the
penalty.
shower and bumped her
Newspapers
head.
published
She has a slight
editorials
concussion,
calling the
but
verdict a
I'm keeping an eye
failure
on
of
her.
justice.
Lucky I
And
heard her
rights
fall. She
organizations demanded
could have drowned.
reforms to Japan's juvenile
Jesus,
laws.
David.
And though the court
Why didn't you
sealed the
call?
perpetrator's name,
I
and not everyone
tried.
agreed with the
It
law.
didn't go through.
And journalists
She's
from
fine,
Shukan
really.
magazine uncovered the
But
identities
what about
of
you?
all
You
four
sound
perpetrators,
stressed.
thankfully.
No,
And on April
it's,
20th, 1989, they published the
Just
name.
weird
We need
case, that's
somebody
all.
like this for the
Well, if you need a hint, my
Because
years
Yoshi
of board game
Hanada,
victories
the
tell me
editor-in-chief,
Colonel
later
Mustard
explained the
did it.
decision, saying, quote, "To make a long
I'll
story
keep an eye
short,
out for
we
him.
decided that beasts
Love you,
don't
Dave.
have human rights."
Love you too, honey.
Unquote. Couldn't have said it
Wanna
better
say bye to
myself.
Logan?
And Hanada
Just tell her I
acknowledged
love
that
her.
publishing the name
Bye for
violated
now.
juvenile protection law, but there were no penalty regulations in place to punish them for doing so bluntly. The boys' names became public, and the whole nation now knew who they were. Tomiyano served his full 20-year sentence and walked out of prison in 2009. He's 39 years old at the time, and he changed his last name to Yokoyama in an attempt to create a fresh
El
start
caso
under
de
a new
Adam.
identity. So there
No,
you
Adam.
go. Now you
Alan.
know his name. Here it is on screen. And the man who emerged from prison, shocker, was not reformed.
Is there anyone you'd like us to reach out to, Mr. Wake?
Yokoyama was arrested on
You've been gone a
suspicion of
long
bank
time.
fraud and
No.
placing scam phone
No.
calls. And he refused
They'd
to
be in
speak during
danger.
questioning, and without
It'll come
sufficient
for me.
evidence, he walked free.
Okay, let's
And
talk
the
about
court
something
painted a
else.
picture of a man living
Robert
well despite
Nightingale.
his past.
Do you know him?
And he wears
You were both here in
clothing the
2010.
size of BMW. And according to a journalist who spoke
Yeah.
with Jose,
Es
the
verdad.
magazine
El juego salió en
offers
2010. O sea,
boxing gyms
cronológicamente
surrounded by
el tiempo
followers.
existe.
And he takes them to barbecue
No sé
parties
eso en
and
los juegos.
The dark presence got him back
And
then.
Leano consistently boasts about his
That's the last time I saw-
ties to the
Es que
Yakuza, and he
Nightingale,
brags
espérate,
about his
espérate.
involvement.
Nightingale. Ah, sí aparece en el primer juego. Es uno de los personajes principales. ¡Ah! De lo que me perdí. No,
In pyramid schemes and
de
multi-level
lo que me
marketing
perdí.
operations. So basically,
13
he's
years.
still the monster that he was
Tell us
years
about the
and years
pages.
ago. And he's
You had
still
what looks like a title
walking
page with
straight.
you.
But the ringleader
Return.
of Junko's torture and
Is this the
murder
name of the story
is
on these
just
pages?
living freely.
The
And
writer's name has been
I
scratched out pretty
hope
violently,
God that
but your name can still be made out underneath.
karma comes for him, or Junko's ghost
Scratched
him.
out.
Because
Yeah.
he
Scratch.
deserves nothing. He doesn't deserve air. And Joe Ogura was released in August 1999, and he changed his last name.
Did you write these pages, Mr. Wake?
I'm trying to remember it.
It seemed like he might build
It's a
normal
crazy
life.
jumble, like
In 2000, he married
like a nightmare.
to Chibe Prefecture.
It doesn't-
Though the marriage did not last. And then
It doesn't
his
make
past
sense.
was kept up with him, and his colleagues discovered who he really was, which caused him to lose his job and reconnect with the Yakuza. And in July 2004, he committed another violent crime, and Kamisato released a 27-year-old twin. Takatoshi Sono
I
was
remember.
involved with his girlfriend. So he abducted
remember.
Sono, forcing him into the trunk of a car and driving the man to his mother's bar in Sato, where for 4 hours. And during this, he told his victim
Vamos
that
a controlar
he
a
had killed
Wake,
before, and he said that he was going to get away with it. So Kamisato was given 4 years in prison.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
His father allegedly wanted to give his life savings to Junko's family. No other person asked for it. His mother allegedly vandalized Junko's grave, stating that Junko had ruined his son's life. So, she's a piece of shit. It just
En el primer juego no tenía barba.
twisted influence she had on her son. The
Ah,
die on July 15th.
noche larga.
I have a talk show tonight. Waking up in places with no memory of how I'd gotten there. It was out of control. I didn't need another mugshot in the fucking tabloids.
Yamanato was released in 1998.
Had I already done the show? Was that a recording?
Then, in 2015, he resurfaced. Yamanato was arrested of suspicion of attempted murder, and during a dispute over a parking spot in Kawaguchi,
What the
Yama,
fuck?
a 32-year-old man in the shoulder with a metal
El presupuesto de locos. O sea, usaron el actor real. No solo para el motion capture, pero también para escenas reales. O sea, no solo usaron cinemáticas, también grabaron escenas. O sea, escenas. O sea, de verdad, de veras. O sea, escenas de veras. O sea, de verdad, o sea. Con gente de carne y hueso.
baton and slashed the man's neck with an. And when police arrested him, he said, quote, I certainly intended to beat him, but I did not intend to kill him, unquote. And he told officers
Qué loco.
Good to see you, Alan. Great to see you. Welcome back to the show. Come on, sit down, sit down.
Me pregunto por qué usaban escenas de veras.
Oh, man. It is so good to see you, Alan.
Qué
This
loco.
must be an exciting time for you. Tell me, does it ever get old?
For attempted murder.
So does what get
And he
old?
was suspended with probation for
Publishing
3
a new book.
years. Now, Watanabe was released in 1996.
Are you okay there, my friend? You look like
And
you've been
of the
cooped
four,
up in the
his
writer's
path
room
was
for a
the
few too
most
many years.
different. He moved into an apartment with his
This is
mother
exactly
in
how I
Tokyo,
feel.
living in isolation, rarely leaving his locked room.
I've waited
And
so
he had
long to
withdrawn
get my
from the
hands
role
on the sequel to
entirely. And by
Departure.
2005,
You left
Watanabe
us
had
on
developed
quite the
a
cliffhanger.
neurodegenerative
We've all been
disease,
dying to
but
know
his
what
family could not
it's
afford
not a lake,
treatment.
it's an
And his
ocean.
mother described
Really
his condition
means.
as
You
a
and me both.
disease that,
Well,
quote unquote,
our wait is
turned
over.
his brain
Your
into
new
a
book,
sponge.
Initiation.
And
Hits the
Watanabe
shelves.
passed away in 2021 at 49 years
What?
old.
What?
One of the four who did not
Ese es el
meet
capítulo,
additional
el que estamos jugando ahorita
funds
mismo.
That we
O sea, él ni recuerda ningún momento de haberlo publicado. Me encanta el hecho que estamos, como que estamos controlando y un escritor. Los escritores son los que ven el mundo de una manera diferente.
It's exactly what every reader will be asking.
So
This
they were
book
sent
is
to juvenile detention
mind-bending,
and were both released by
cerebral.
2000.
I mean, how would you
And in the
describe
years
it?
that followed,
An
both got married and
auto-fictional
had
thought
children.
experiment?
And according to
A
reports, they
horror
disclosed their
story? A
involvement in the
postmodern
case to
detective
their
story?
spouses.
Wait.
So 3 of the 4
This isn't
main
right.
perpetrators
I haven't
committed
written
additional
anything.
crimes after release. And though the
He's
Japanese
so
juvenile justice system was
Okay,
built on
you got me. Good
rehabilitation,
prank, very
the
funny.
Junko Furuta case
Yeah,
puts
I
up
sad to
belief
say,
that the test
I've
and
not
it
written
failed.
this.
And an article in Shukan
I'd remember
Shinsho
if I'd written a
described
book,
the subsequent arrests
Or
with a single
Maybe
phrase.
it was written by your
A defeat
evil
of the
double.
juvenile law. So Junko Furuta's funeral was held
Well
on April 2nd,
played, man! That is
1989.
spot on!
And had she
Playing the
lived, the
role
very
here.
next day would have
Pretending the
been
world
her
of the book
first day
overlaps
of
our
work
own.
at the electronics
Very
A la
store.
vez.
indeed.
Oye,
You see,
During the
initiation.
ceremony, one
la
of her friends
actuación,
delivered
qué
a
loco.
eulogy
Me
written by
encanta
her
esto.
classmates, saying,
Oye, es muy
quote,
buen
"The
actor
happy
ese.
we made
¿Pero quién es el actor? ¿Quién es el actor que interpreta Alan Wake? Alan Wake, no Alan Wick. No deja de confundir con John Wick. Proporciona la imagen física, modelo facial y captura de movimiento, mientras que Matthew presta su voz al personaje en los videojuegos. ¡Ah, no es la voz! Él es la cara. Entonces, él no es el actor, él es el que le da el doblaje o él lo dobló encima de su cara. No sé, no tengo ni idea.
Tells the story of a fictional writer named Alan Wake, who is trapped in a nightmare, desperately trying to find the manuscript of a novel he has forgotten he has written. The book is set in New York, but it might not be New York at all.
Oye, esto es muy meta, ¿eh? O sea, eso es lo que está sucediendo ahorita mismo.
He is tormented by his dark doppelganger and guided by visions of a fictional
the fuck?
detective he has written. That's right. Alex Casey is in this book as well.
I guess we'll just keep doing this the whole show. The joke's on me.
But isn't that what you sign up for with autofiction? No, but seriously, I found the structure of the reality you build in the book fascinating. It reminded me of The Matrix. I mean, the writer is physically in his writer's room, trapped there, and he projects himself out to this dark dream of New York through the story he is writing. Like astral projection. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Go on. I should be taking notes here. This is great stuff.
Notes to that other Alan Wake in that room writing this as we speak? Are we all in your story, Alan? Wow. No, I wish you every success with your new book, Alan. I hope it's as successful as your best-selling Alex Casey series. Initiation hits the shelves tomorrow. After this, I'm sure we'll...
Hermosísimo ese libro, se ve hermoso. ¿En serio existe? Solo quiero ver. Alan Wake, Iniciación. Alan Wake, Iniciación. Es que existe el libro de Alan Wake. Ah, sí existe. Ah, existe un libro del primer juego.
all be eagerly awaiting the culmination of this hero's journey trilogy of yours. A book called Return, perhaps.
Ah, esa es la segunda parte, la tercera parte de Retorno.
Yeah. Thank you for one of the strangest interviews of my entire career, Alan. All this talk of meta-narratives. Half expecting to disappear once we see theirs.
¿Qué pedo? Y ahora sí ya estamos en las cinemáticas. Ya estamos en el juego.
Hello?
Qué loco.
Something's not right here. I needed to get home. To Alice. What the hell was that interview? Some kind of joke? Initiation? I never wrote a book called Initiation. This felt like a bad dream. Could make a good horror story.
Ah, cállate. Los escritores.
I was a mess. I'd never heard of this talk show or Mr. Door before. None of it felt right. Was I losing my mind?
Hey! I think I've been locked in! Anybody?
Fuck. Now I have to find the code myself. Great.
And they would have a system. They knew how to identify targets, and most of the time, they let their victims go afterward. But Junko would be different. So on November 8th, they abducted a 19-year-old woman in Adachi, and they would take her to
Old Gods of Asgard. That name sounded familiar.
And this was their pattern: abduct, assault, and release. So once they had all dropped out of school, they needed a place to hang out. And Minato offered his family's home in Adachi, and it became their base of operations. And it was a place where the adults seemed unwilling or unavailable to stop whatever was happening under their roof. So
there was something here. A broken transmission I couldn't quite make out.
Crimes together, just covering for each other.
What was that?
And on the night of November
A message?
5th, 1988,
Impossible to say.
and Minato climbed onto their motorcycles, and they rode through the streets of Misato looking for a woman to rob and then kill. So as we know, Junko had just finished her shift at the plastic modeling factory and headed home on her bike. The streets were dark, but she knew the way. But little did she know that Miyano and Minato were out hunting. So as they were riding on the streets, they would spot Junko. She was alone, and she was vulnerable, just the type of person they were looking for. And what happened next was extremely coordinated, because Miyano gave the order and Minato executed it. So as Junko pedaled along, Minato drove his motorcycle toward her and kicked her off her bike. She would fall to the ground. And before she could process what was happening, Minato sped away into the night. His job was done. Now it was Miyano's turn. So Miyano approached Junko as if he had witnessed the attack by coincidence, and he played the concerned stranger helping her.
There was something in the studio with me.
Okay, she was
I had to get out.
vulnerable. And here was this helpful guy offering to walk her home safely. So naturally, Junko would accept. She had no way of knowing that the stranger who had attacked her and the stranger helping her were actually working for her. He was a member of the Yakuza.
Holy shit.
This is the ritual to ritual. Said, and that is why he messaged her the first time and threatened to kill her if she didn't. And afterward,
Waking up from the nightmare, I felt like a drowning man gasping for air.
he would ask her again.
This
And from
place
the
felt
hotel
familiar.
room, he called Minato's
A ghost of a
house
memory
and bragged
surfaced
to Agura
about riding here
of
for
what
countless
he'd done.
days.
Reconozco este lugar.
Would have ended there. Again, they never held their victims after what they did what they wanted.
I had been writing.
But Agura's response
Initiation.
would determine everything that came
You
next.
must write to
Saying,
escape.
quote unquote, don't let her leave. So around 3 a.m. on November 26th,
Ah, esta es la sala en tu
parked
mente.
near the hotel. And there, the three others were waiting in the darkness. Agura, Minato, and Watanabe. And they would surround her and told her that they knew where she lived and that the Yakuza would murder her family if she tried to escape. And then, according to some accounts, the other three boys would escort her there in the park. So Junko was completely alone, terrified for her life,
A
and
plot
alive.
whiteboard for mapping out a story.
Just surrounded by her attackers.
On the
in
index
middle of night,
cards, the
absolutely
nightmare that just happened to me.
petrified of anything imagined she was
A
feeling.
summary of the story
But
so
boys
far.
needed somewhere else
But other
to
notes as
take her
well.
as they weren't done
Warnings.
yet. And Minato
I had
offered
written them.
his family house. The
I
same
couldn't
house the
remember
group
what
had
it all
been
meant.
using as a hangout since they brought
The name
them to
Scratch
school.
filled me
They
with
agreed
dread.
to let them hold Junko in a room
I could trust
on the
these words.
second floor.
I had to
They
act
took her
on
into
them.
the house under
You
the
must
cover of
write to
darkness.
escape.
So Junko would be held captive and confined to a room on the second floor of the Minato family home. And the house sat in the Ayase district of Agachi in north central Tokyo. And it was, by all accounts, an
Entonces tenía que escribir una historia para escapar.
ordinary neighborhood.
I
Y
didn't
ese
remember much,
There was nothing to suggest
but I knew
horror
my
that
thoughts
would
and
happen.
ideas could manifest as reality in this dark place. I'd use my writing to project myself out of this room, like a deep sea diver to go deeper and explore the depths of this prison for a way out. This room was my boat. Writing was my lifeline. I would start again at the talk show.
I've run away, but I'm safe.
¿Qué pedo?
Welcome back. Was not
we have a great show for you here
Junko was
tonight.
also forced to tell her mother to call off the police investigation.
Alex
Exception
Casey
did
himself
work.
is here tonight.
When the police
That's right.
heard that the
What the
girl
fuck?
had contacted her family, they reclassified the case as a voluntary disappearance.
And of course
And the
we
search
have
for Junko
Alan Wake here.
effectively ended
Best-selling
before
writer,
it began.
books,
So in the
films
beginning, the boys
are
forced
based on.
Junko to
Let's do
act
this!
as Minato's girlfriend when his parents were around. And the parents, of course, did not believe the story. And they knew something was going on, but they said nothing, and they did nothing.
Welcome
And
back to the
eventually,
show.
The boys stopped even
So,
bothering with
Alan,
the charade once it
as
became
the
clear that
creator of the
Minato
character,
Alex Casey. Por eso no le gustaba el Poli. Ay. El Poli no le gustaba el nombre del personaje principal porque era exactamente como su nombre. El problema es que Alex Casey es el mismo, el de los libros, solo que él no lo sabe porque los libros están conectados con la realidad o algo así.
feel about this.
which just makes me so sick to my stomach. To
Sorry, what?
I know it can be an awkward question with the man sitting right next to you, but I mean, how do you feel about him in the role of
Es el mismo actor.
Casey?
A la
Does he
madre.
look the part to you?
So Junko was not completely hidden from the world as we know. And Minato's parents obviously
He looks
knew a
exactly
girl was
like I
being
always
housed,
imagined Casey
and
to
that she
be.
hadn't left for an extended
It's
period
uncanny.
of time. And Minato's
What
brothers
the
knew, too.
fuck?
The brothers'
¿Es
only action was to
Es el
later inform
Poli.
Minato that Junko appeared
Thank
to
you.
be dying.
That means so
dying,
much
and
to
no
me.
one said
Se la
I'm a
actor.
huge
But the
fan of
parents
your
would
books.
later offer
So,
explanations, claiming
What's the
they were
problem,
afraid
Alan?
of
Because
their own
on more than
son,
one
that
occasion,
he
you
had
voiced your
become
reservations
increasingly
about the
violent
adaptations.
towards them.
Oh.
Lock him
It's
up.
not that.
Get him investigated. You call the police. They can
They're
see
their
that
own
he's
thing.
clever, so-
They've gone with choices that are
I don't
different
know.
from mine.
I don't know. This infuriates me. This case infuriates me.
I feel
But they
protective about my
said they
stories,
feared
and these
retaliation
adaptations.
from Miyanu and his Yakuza connections. And some accounts
I don't know.
suggest
I
that they
guess
were also worried
just
about their
wish I could have been more
reputation in the
involved in making
community,
them.
which I'm
Well,
gonna assume is the
in that
biggest
case, you
reason,
won't have seen
to be
this
honest.
either.
Because
We have
you
a
bet
clip
your
from the
sweet
new
ass
film,
I'd lay my
Murder
life
Case
down on the
Casey.
line to help save a
Should we
girl
roll it,
and
or do you want to say something first, Sam?
Are you kidding me?
Oh,
Like, I can't
Nah,
believe it. Anyway.
just
But
roll it.
The Minato family were not the only ones aware of his presence.
él no supo sobre la adaptación. Él no
This
supo.
city was an old scar that refused to heal. The rain made it fester. It needed the sun, but there was only the night. I was tired. Insomnia covered me like a plastic film. I was watching the world through a
Holy
glass
shit.
window. My own reflection haunting the view. I was trying to track down a missing writer. My only clue was a table lamp.
Hay muchos escritores que no le gustan las adaptaciones.
Shed light on this sordid mystery.
And the torture would continue. All right, I'd like to take a brief moment.
Wow.
That's great. Murder Case Casey. Great job, Sam. Very exciting and very meta. I'm looking forward to seeing more.
Or should I say my cat?
Wait,
because I have
stop.
two cats. And they
What was that about a
obviously
writer?
have
about a
taken over
lamp.
my life, but I'm okay with that. But what I'm not okay with and not fine with is looking at cat food ingredient lists and
Otra
having
vez.
absolutely no idea what I'm feeding them. And that's why I switched to Smalls about 6 months ago. Now, Smalls makes fresh protein-packed cat food with 100% food-grade, preservative-free ingredients. The kind of stuff you'd actually find in your own fridge, delivered right to your door. You just share your cat's preferences and health info, and they build a personalized meal plan. And Forbes ranks Smalls the best overall cat food. And after switching, 88% of cat owners reported their cat's health improved overall. And my cats are obsessed. They will not stop meowing in the morning until it is in front of them. But if for whatever reason your cat doesn't like the food, Smalls will refund you, risk-free. So for a limited time, because you're a Crime Conspiracy Cults and Murder listener, you get 60% off of your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/CCCM. That's smalls.com/CCCM. If you care about your cats as much as I do,
565.
Smalls. Thank you so much to Smalls for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel. And let's get back to it. And what Junko endured over those 40 days defies all comprehension. The abuse was relentless and only got worse as the days went by. Physically, she would be beaten repeatedly with fists, bamboo sticks, golf clubs, iron rods. At some points, Junko would be hung from the ceiling and they used her as a punching bag. Not to mention, they would dumbbells onto her, which made her internal organs, but she would remain alive. And they would also use those weights on her hands and her fingers, which naturally would shatter her fingernails and bones. And they also used her repeatedly using lighter fluid, setting multiple bottles on fire. And they would hot wax onto her face and her eyelids, and they would her chest with sewing needles. But they would torture her in ways too horrific to fully describe. And the was constant. They would escort her as a group repeatedly, and during these escorts, they would use foreign objects, including a metal rod, a bottle, scissors, skewers, lit matches, and lit fireworks. This is a hard one to get through, sorry. And according to some accounts, as many as 100 different men were invited to the house over the course of her captivity. They treated her suffering as entertainment, and as if her wasn't enough, they hurt her psychologically as well. And they would force her to dance unclothed while playing music, and they made her do things to herself while she was in front of them, and she would remain unclothed for almost the entirety of this entire time. And sometimes they would make her stand on the balcony when it was freezing outside, and when they grew bored, they actually would put her inside a freezer for hours, and they would force her to eat live cockroaches, and would make her drink her own urine, and would make her consume large quantities of alcohol, milk, and water. And they would force her to smoke 2 cigarettes at once and to inhale paint thinner fumes. And they would tell her lies designed to break her spirit further, like that her father had died in an accident, which wasn't true. I can't. The level of detail it makes me physically ill. I've had to stop multiple times.
Hello?
While filming this, so I apologize. I'm trying to keep myself together. But this one just has impacted me a lot. Not that all of them don't. It's just this one in particular has been very tough to get through. And in December, Junko would try to escape, but unfortunately she would fail. Because later on, during a night when her captors had gotten wasted, an opportunity.
Me asusté.
Lorraine, there you are, Tom.
But before she could say a single word,
not so much evil that not a bit of good.
No soy Tom.
Not one without the other. Good to see you.
And the police flat out.
Hey, I can't seem to find my way out of here. Can you point me to the exit?
Totta helvetissä. Of course, Tom. The work will instruct its maker. I was gonna get something from the basement for you, but you can get it yourself now. The more cooks, the worse the soup.
And on it. And he would punch her in the face over and over.
Have we met before?
Was clear.
Are you trapped in the dark place too?
You remember Ahti, the janitor. You can't
ese es el
be
Dark
lost
Place.
if you don't worry about where you are headed. So, don't worry, Tom. The sun will shine even into a heap of twigs. Just remember to turn on the lights. It won't take long when you get to work.
What do you want me to get from the basement? And my name's Alan, not Tom.
Ja, mutta katsoppa, kun a man, but a man with a tool makes two, Tom. Eikö niin? And a man with a tool can build his own exit. It's in a shoebox, in the basement where you left it. Safe as in the Lord's purse. Here's the key.
And eventually she couldn't even keep water down. Not to mention she could no longer walk. She couldn't walk to the toilet.
I've been trying to find a way to escape the dark place. Any suggestions?
He who mouths about his troubles is the prisoner of his troubles. It's not easy to get out. But don't you worry, Tom. The home is still there where the heart is. I often think about it when I mop the floor and look into the puddle. Water is the memory of the world. Water finds its way.
The janitor was a bit out there, but still a friendly face. I had to trust the basement would get me out of here.
And the night before, Miano had allegedly lost money playing Mahjong. And when he woke up, he was angry and he needed an outlet. So he chose Junko. And according to court testimony, Miano challenged her to a game of Mahjong that day. And this was the 40th day of her captivity. And as we know, she could barely move at this point. Yet, despite everything, Junko was barely aware enough to play, but she would actually beat him at the game. And Miano and the others went into a rage. And what followed was the most brutal of her entire captivity. And they would repeat the abuse that they had done before with candles and wax and beatings and making her drink her own urine. And eventually she would fall onto a stereo unit and begin having convulsions. By this point, her body was so decayed that they didn't want to even touch her directly. At this point, she was bleeding heavily. So they covered their hands with plastic bags before continuing, making sure they wouldn't be stained by her blood. And this is when they would continue to beat her until finally Miano doused Junko with lighter fluid and set her on fire. And she apparently made weak attempts to extinguish the flames, but shortly after it happened, she would stop moving. So this final lasted approximately 2 hours long. So Junko had finally died from the injuries sustained during that final. And she died at approximately 10 a.m. on January 4th, 1989. And less than 24 hours later, Mandato's brother called to deliver the news. The girl upstairs appeared to be dead, and she would be only months away from graduating high school and achieving everything that she wanted to achieve. But these scum monsters, just a waste of oxygen, people took that away from her. And she'd never had the chance to realize her dreams of becoming an idol singer, and she would never go on that ski trip with her boyfriend. And these things were stolen from her by these evil human beings. But these boys did not feel any remorse for what they did to Junko. And all they felt now was fear. Fear of being charged with murder. And now they had to deal with her body. Something to her captors. She regretted not being able to watch the last episode of Tombo with her family. Miano found that videotape of the final episode and placed it in the bag alongside her body, and he would later claim he did not do this out of pity or remorse. He was just afraid she would come back as a ghost to haunt him. And this travel bag wouldn't be enough, so the boys got a 55-gallon metal drum and put the travel bag containing Junko's body inside, and they filled it with wet concrete to seal her away, fully hidden from discovery, or so they hoped. Now the drum needed to disappear, so they found a spot to hide it, and they found a vacant lot near a construction site on the island of Wakasu in Koto, Tokyo, and it was a popular illegal dumping ground for all sorts of junk, like refrigerators, washing machines,
An old lamp in a shoebox.
Surely one more oil drum.
Was this what the janitor had left for me?
They thought. So on January 5th, 1989, the day after Junko passed away, the boys loaded the concrete.
The lamp felt significant. A tool for bringing light to the darkness.
They dumped it in that vacant lot among the other discarded items, and they drove away. So Junko had been reduced to garbage.
I felt a magnetic pull between the lamp and the light overhead.
Lay encased in concrete for nearly.
Whoa! When the light jumped into my lamp, the whole room changed, like something in a dream. Opening a way forward, the lamp was humming. The bulb glowed. It held the light now.
So in early 1989, police caught up with Miyano and Agura. And the woman they had abducted on December 27th, while Junko was still suffering in the upstairs room, went to the police. And on January 23rd, 1989, Miyano and Agura were arrested for the kidnapping and escort of this woman. And they were in custody and facing charges. But nobody knew of Junko, the girl they threw away, at least not yet. So 2 months
I felt another surge from the lamp. The glow in the lamp went out, shifting the light in the room. The light carved out something new from the darkness.
Investigators had discovered women's underwear, and they wanted answers, because they were investigating a different murder. A woman and her 7-year-old son had been killed 9 days before Junko's abduction, and the case remained unsolved. So during the interrogation, the officers mentioned this was an open murder investigation, and they meant the mother and son. But Miyano heard something else, and he panicked. Believing Ogura had already confessed to killing Junko, he assumed the police knew everything. And as we know, he was wrong. So thinking the game was over, Miyano told the officers where to find the body. The police were...
The dark place wants to drown me. I'm losing myself. I have to fight it. I have to remember. The clicker. The light switch. I lost it. But I have the lamp now. The lamp the switch was cut from. This place is a nightmare. Not real and yet more real than anything. The danger and the horror are real. It feeds off my mind, twisting whatever it takes into psychotic reality. I'm trapped here. I write to escape. I've tried this many times, written countless stories, forgotten how many. I keep failing, but I must keep trying. I use the story to dive deeper. Every word I write is a step forward on the spiral of the darkness. I dive to the body to find the answer, the map, the key, the compass, the spine, to follow a door leading out. But how do you open a door that's not a door? At the bottom of an ocean, it's not an ocean, and a lake. That's not a lake.
Programa de entrevistas.
At the time of her death, making the situation just that much more horrific. So the investigation moved quickly after Miyano's confession. And on April 1st, 1989, Ogura was arrested for yet another and subsequently rearrested for his role in Junko's murder. And Minato and Watanabe were taken into custody shortly after. And Minato's brother, who had known what was happening and did nothing, was also arrested. And Tetsuo Nakamura and Koichi Ihara were identified as participants in the escape as well. The DNA evidence found on and inside Junko's body confirmed their involvement. And prosecutors decided that Nakamura and Ihara would face charges of only. And the 4 main perpetrators would face the full weight of Japanese justice for juvenile offenders for her confinement and murder. So the first trial began on July 31st of 1989 in Tokyo. And under Japanese law at the time, anyone under 20 was considered a juvenile. And this meant that all 4 main perpetrators qualified, but the court would hide their identities at the time. And in a official documents, they became letters. Miyano,
The payphone was ringing.
Ogura was B,
Somehow I knew the call was for me.
C, and Watanabe was D. But Junko Furuta received no such protection. She was reportedly designated as E, but that anonymity ultimately meant nothing for Junko. Her real name
Hello?
and photograph were splashed across every newspaper.
Yes.
Do you know who I am? In Japan, for the court protecting
No.
the identities of
Who is this?
killers.
We'll get to that
Did
later.
not protect the identity
There are
of their
spies
victims. But
all
luckily,
over.
given the severity
Shadows.
of the crime, the four boys were
A sense of
actually tried
deja
as
vu
adults
washed over
in
me.
Tokyo's district
Had I
criminal
had this
court.
conversation
This was
before?
very
Helen,
rare for
listen to me
juvenile
carefully.
offenders. But even
Caldera
that distinction
Street
came with
Station, the
caveats.
subway.
The court
You
still
need
granted
to
them
go there.
protections normally reserved
I'll call
for
you again
juveniles,
later.
which
Make sure to
is
pick up.
juvenile,
Do I know
honestly.
you?
And the trial itself was
I know you from somewhere.
You've just forgotten
As
again.
prosecutors described
We're
what
in
had
it
been done to
together.
Junko, some
Don't
people in the
worry.
courtroom fainted,
I got it
but
now.
all four defendants
We've been
entered
working.
guilty
Take
pleas.
break.
But not
I'm
even
losing you.
murder. They instead
Hello?
pleaded guilty to committing
Hello?
bodily injury that resulted in death. And this distinction matters in terms of intent. Murder implies intent to kill. Bodily injury resulting in death suggested something less deliberate, thereby earned a lesser sentence, because somehow 40 days of systematic torture only added up to bodily injury that resulted in death in the eyes of the law of Japan. So on July 20th, 1990, the court announced its verdict. And Miyano, the ringleader who orchestrated the abduction, led the torture, and Junko on fire received 17 years. That's it.
The man had said Caldera Street Station. I had to go there.
Disgusting. And during his
I
trial,
had to
a
find the subway
prosecutor
station.
reportedly told him that if he had committed the crime just a short while later, when he was no longer a juvenile in the eyes of the law, he would have faced the death
Fuck.
penalty.
Okay, time me just passing through. Shadows stirred like there was someone there, but there was no one.
And Miyano's
I wanted to
response
keep it
was
that
cold,
way.
saying, quote, "In this country, there is no chance to do something like this other than when you are a minor," unquote. Dismissed Junko with indifference. She, quote, "was just unlucky enough to get caught," unquote. And Agora told Miyano not to let her
The city
go.
was not real. I was limited to the Caldera Street Station sign was there, but the entrance was missing. I had to make it appear. Maybe I could use the lamp to reveal the station entrance.
Everything that they did to her received 3 to 4 years. But the defendants were not satisfied. They wanted even less time. So Miyano, Minato, and Watanabe appealed their sentences. And the appeals went to the Tokyo High Court. And the higher court disagreed with the original sentences, but not in the way the defendants.
The dark place wouldn't let me go that way.
The High Court instead increased the punishments, luckily. Miyano's sentence was raised for 17 years to 20. Still not enough, which is the longest sentence typically handed down in Japan, short of life imprisonment. Minato's sentence was increased to 5 to 9 years, and Watanabe's sentence was increased to 5 to 7 years. And the presiding judge,
The lamp was dead in my hand. I needed to find a light for it.
increased because of the nature of the crime and the effect on the victim's family and the broader effects on society. Now, Watanabe appealed to Japan's Supreme Court, and in July of 1992, his appeal was denied. The sentences were final. All right, let's take a quick breather to talk about something that's probably been in the back of your mind, and that is that doctor's appointment that's just been not quite making it into your schedule, but you know you have to, but you go and you never do. Well, that's where ZocDoc comes in. And for those of you who don't know, ZocDoc is a free app and website that makes it incredibly easy to find and book high-quality in-network doctors. We're talking 150,000 plus providers across all 50 states, and you can search by specialty or symptoms, read thousands of verified patient reviews, so you actually know who you're walking in to see, and instantly book when you find someone that you love. No phone tag and no waiting. An appointment typically can happen within 24 to 72 hours, and you can even sometimes get same-day appointments and in-person or video visits. I'm a video person, but I'm like, I don't want to leave my house. So every doctor's appointment I've made has just been videos, basically, and it's really nice. I have personally been using ZocDoc for almost a year now, and it has been super helpful. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/CCCM to find and instantly book a doctor.
It was locked from the other side.
And thank you so much to DocDoc for sponsoring this video and supporting the channel. I must get back to it. So how did the perpetrators of one of the most horrific crimes in Japanese, just the history of the world, receive such lenient sentences? Well, Japan's juvenile law was built on rehabilitation. The goal was not to punish young offenders, but to educate and reform them. And there was also something known as the Nakayama Standard. And under Japanese legal precedent, the death penalty was rarely applied in cases with only one victim. And law professor Hiroshi Itakura later explained that the difference between this case and harsher sentences came down to victim count and demonstrable premeditation. And in the Furuta case, the court found that the intent to kill was uncertain. The torture had escalated over time, and death had been the result, but perhaps not the original goal. Who the cares? They killed her. I just don't. This case infuriates me, and it's so incredibly sad. Like the world can be a disgusting place. But despite the ever-escalating brutality, the court wasn't sure if they had meant to kill her or not. And the Young's defense also presented additional mitigating factors like psychological evaluation showing his learning disability. No words. And his parents reportedly
There was a light at the end of the alley ahead.
Roughly $350,000 at the time in compensation.
Oh, you lost her. Y Pablo is a wife.
Influenced the verdict they received at trial, lessening their sentences to far too compared to what they should have been. And naturally, the sentences ignited a firestorm. And legal professionals were
This is the way it was on the page.
What the hell?
¿Casey? A la verga.
Oh, hey. We met at Door's show.
Alan Wake, the writer. I'm Alex Casey.
Él es Alex
Looking into a
Casey.
murder.
Él es Alex Casey. El personaje, no el actor.
Come on, what is this?
There's a piece of evidence, a manuscript of a novel. You wouldn't know anything about it?
A manuscript? What manuscript? I need to see it.
Rumor had it the manuscript contained the details of the murderers. A murder cult was following the story to commit their gruesome acts. Was Wake their leader? Had he written it? How far would he go to create a perfect work of art? Or would he be the next victim? Stay here.
No, wait! I need a gun!
No chance.
Casey!
Damn it. Dying in this alley in a dream I had. He was just gonna keep killing me here, loop by loop. You're not gonna get what you want. You think you know. You know shit. You don't really wanna know. You're gonna get what's coming to you.
He often visits a kickboxing gym surrounded by followers. And he takes them to barbecue parties and hostess clubs. And Leano consistently boasts about his continued ties to the Yakuza. And he brags about his
Oh, hell yeah.
This was an echo of the books I had written for years. Picking up Casey's gun felt like I was assuming the role of the detective. I had a light now. I needed to get back to the subway station entrance. Shit. With the alley in darkness now, restless shadows block my way.
Fuck!
it out. Until they didn't. They were trying to stop me. With the gun and flashlight, I could fight back. I could use the light to open the subway entrance now.
Where he beat him for 4 hours. And during his told his victim that he had killed before, and said that So Kamisaku was sentenced to 4 years in prison for this offense. And after his release in 2009, he lived on his give his life savings to his family out of shame.
Just die.
Oh shit! Me asusté.
During the ceremony, one of her friends delivered a eulogy written by her classmates, saying, quote, "The happy we made for the cultural festival looked wonderful on you. I'll never forget that," unquote. And they acknowledged her suffering, expressed grief, and made a promise. A vow to fight for a world where such crimes could never happen again. And the electronics retailer brought the uniform Junko would have worn, and her parents placed it in her casket. At graduation, the principal presented Junko's diploma to her parents. All 47 students in the class 3-8 graduated together and remained among them. The impact also disclosed to Junko.
Hello. Oh, hey, Alan.
had been done
You snuck
to
up on me.
her daughter, she reportedly had to be admitted to psychiatric hospital. Junko's boyfriend, Kawamura, did not
Sorry.
attend the funeral.
Have we met?
Bring himself to
Memory
bed.
problems again, huh?
Instead, he went to the
Yeah,
place
we've
where
met.
her body had been
Tim
dumped.
Breaker.
And after her
We've
death,
shared
he
notes.
started drinking and
Hey, I've made some
smoking
progress on the
again.
map
Later,
if you
he
want to take a
spoke
look.
to perpetrators, saying,
Still haven't found my mystery
"I
man, though.
remember their faces, and when they come out, I want
Who's
to
this
kill
mystery
them
man?
in the same
Oh, it wouldn't be
eye,"
much of a mystery if I
unquote.
knew.
But the criminal sentences have left Junko's
All I
family
have is a name.
betrayed because the price Japan's court placed
Warland
on their
Dorr.
daughter's
The
life
talk
was
show host?
far too small.
No.
But criminal
No,
courts
that doesn't sound like him.
their only
The guy has many
recourse.
disguises, but a talk show host?
Filed a civil lawsuit against the
I'll keep looking.
Oh shit.
You're making a map.
Trying to. It's hard to map a dream, though. I keep ending up in unexpected places. I find interesting things like those strange markings that react to the light, but never the one thing that I'm looking for. Feel free to check the map out. Oh, I've been stockpiling supplies while I poke around. If you find a stash, take anything you need.
I appreciate the help.
In Japan's post-war history, and the case forced Japanese society to confront uncomfortable realities. 4 teenagers had committed acts that defied comprehension, and the case also raised awareness about
Well, that's my
issues
crazy
beyond
wall.
this single crime.
I'm just
Things like
trying to make
bullying,
sense of things.
violence among young people,
Don't
and
judge
the
me.
importance
I'll
of
trade you walls any
bystander
day.
intervention. And over a dozen people had known about Junko's captivity, yet none of them saved her. But online memorials continue to remember Junko, emphasizing something extremely important. She was
See you around,
not
Alan.
just a victim. She was a person with dreams, a family, and friends who love her. Memorials ask us to remember Junko as she lived and not as she died. And that's how I would
There was something hidden here. Light would reveal it. A phrase repeated over and over. The words resonated with meaning. Had I written this?
Okay, a lot of you requested I go over the Hello Kitty case. Now, I've heard of this here and there. I hadn't heard all the details, and my lord, is it grim. So all the trigger warnings there, from torture to hauntings, this case shocked all of Hong Kong and the world. And they called it one of the worst and most horrible sides of humanity ever seen. So without further ado, let's unbuckle our seatbelts, go Mach 5 down the highway, slam on the brakes, and ultimately put you It began with her living with her parents who decided to abandon her as a child, leaving her to end up in World War I. And at the time she was there, she would never be adopted. And with an age that is set on taking care of young girls, she was sent into the world alone at the age of 50. I didn't know the time I handed this, you know? And as extremely hard life living out on the streets, she experienced the worst type of things, and eventually get along with the small crowd and get addicted to drugs. And this habit would lead her to rely on them, as it happens with us. And the only way to afford said drugs is money. Therefore, she had to get drugs. And that's how she felt desperation that is literally
¿Por qué voy a lavar el baño?
written books about Alex Casey for years. Something lingered here. A line from a half-forgotten story.
The city was a monster, poised to tear into you the second you let your guard down. You thought you had it tamed, that you knew what the hell you were doing. Your last mistake, unless you got lucky. And you didn't deserve to get lucky. You blinked at the wrong time, let your mind wander, and the fire escape that was meant to be your getaway route was gone. It was never there at all. You'd gotten turned around somewhere along the way. The city was coming to finish you off, and there was nowhere left to run.